Hello, World All Day aficionados. I'm Elizabeth Ann Coleman, and it is my pleasure to be back again with you with another selection of dolls from the Coleman collection. For this adventure, I've selected some dolls associated with the great American importing company of George Borgfeldt and Company. George Borgfeldt was America's premier doll importer for decades, and I'd like you to meet the late but great George Borgfeldt as he was pictured in the company and 25th anniversary booklet. George Borgfeldt began his career as a buyer for another company, and it is through that other company that we've been able to track his association with dolls. Would you believe that they were importers of cling heads? Cling heads of this sort were what they were importing into this country in the 1870s and 80s when George was getting his doll feet, as it were, on the ground. He would eventually turn over the doll buying and doll making component of his business to other people, and that primary person was a man named Fred Cobb, Uncle Fred, as he was known, to his niece, Dorothy Cobb. And the Museum of the City of New York has a lot of his papers regarding the dolls that Borgfeldt imported, particularly from Germany in the 1890s, given to the museum by his niece, Dorothy Cobb. But she also became family friends and or a friend, and as of my speaking today, she may still be alive. She's up in her 90s now, but over the years she has been very generous and passing along to the Coleman family some of the items associated with Borgfeldt and Company. First of all, we have a wonderful little souvenir plate from the company. I have a couple of address books, and we have some very late company Christmas time calendars from the 1950s, and I think this one's 1960. This is 1950s. These would have been handed out to their clients come Christmas time. Now, we know that one of the great successes with Borgfeldt was the Kewpie doll. And here we have Easter Chicken. And she's another little Kewpie that's dressed in crepe paper. I think you may have seen or will see another crepe paper dressed all bis Kewpie that I have. But Dorothy gave us these two wonderful little characters many years ago. They were samples that were sent to Borgfeldt, and they have Heubach numbers on their backsides, indicating that they were obviously Heubach products. Now, Dorothy, as I said, is in advanced years, and she gave us some of her own childhood playthings, which Uncle Fred made possible for her to have. And one is this lovely trunk from the 1930s, probably the latter half of the 1930s. And in the trunk, we found a lovely little red hat with fur trim on it, and a little red jacket, velvet jacket. But it was what was underneath in the trunk that was so wonderful. It's Snow White's dress for the ball where she meets Prince Charming. Now, a dress is no good without the doll to go with it. And along with the trunk and the dress, and just look at the back of this velvet cape with its high standing collar, just like in the film, 1937, Christmas time. We got the doll, probably from Knickerbocker, in this dress that she would have had for doing her homework, housework, except it's all in acetate, representing sort of a silk-like material, and a navy jersey. But she's got these wonderful undergarments and socks and shoes, just as she basically came from the factory. So I don't know when Dorothy received Snow White. I don't know whether she was made before the film was released in 1937 or whether the doll was made afterwards. Have to do a little bit more research, but I think it's wonderful in this holiday season to know of a doll that is associated with a film that came out on December 21st, 1937. And if she didn't make the Christmas under the Christmas tree 1937, then surely she was under the Christmas tree in 1938 for Fred Cobb's niece, Dorothy, and Fred Cobb was the doll buyer for decades. And he was the one who worked with Joseph Callis, who turned Rose O'Neill's two-dimensional drawings into the wonderful Kewpie dolls that so many collectors find great joy in collecting. And if you're writing your Christmas wish list, here's a George Borgfeldt Christmas pencil souvenir with the holly and the ivy and the season's greetings. And I send you my own very personal season's greetings from George Borgfeldt, Dorothy Cobb, and myself for a wonderful 2023.
Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button.